Welcome to the Helm developer call. It is March 21st, 2019. Reminder, this is going to go on YouTube, so do not say anything nasty. So announcements, we don't have anything on the agenda. Does anyone have any announcements? Okay. Stand-ups, I can start. There was a chart museum bug that was affecting Harbor that I fixed this week, and I'm waiting to hear back uh, from the Harbor team about whether it's working. I also, while I was there, changed to match the vanity URL for helm.sh for chart museum. I still have yet to submit the PR for the repo docs. I'm going to do that very soon. Matt Farina.
So I haven't done too much with Helm in the last week, other than I've been poking at Go modules a little bit. There was an email going around amongst some of the Helm maintainers around, do we use Go modules? Because in the next minor version of Go, they will be on by default. And so we're going to try and give that a shot. For the Helm 3 branch anyway, we'll start there. Kubernetes is working on a plan to go down that road as well. That's the only thing that I've really touched and I think I poked at this week. Brian.
Yeah, I've just been implementing the Go Lua standard libraries after some of the changes to the core APIs that I've made over the last few months. Later today, Adam and I are going to sit down and do some pairing on the Helm Lua integration. It's about as much. Yeah, I think that's it. Matt Fisher, do you want to go?
Sure. So this last week, I've been kind of taking a look at the Helm 3 project board and helping out where I've been basically picking up anything that's kind of loose ends on the alpha project list. So there was the XDG configuration directory stuff, which Adam and I paired on. And after looking at the Helm Home stuff in Helm 3 and how much of a pain it was to manage Helm Home state across like chart downloaders and the different packages, we opted to go for a lazy loading approach there for the packages. So I was going around and rewriting that. So that entailed a couple of changes architecturally inside of Helm. And then Ian Howell also posted a PR for chart schema validation. And so I did a very quick pass on that one. I still have to actually go through and do like a manual test and play around with that PR. But things are shaping up quite well over there. After that, I think I'm just going through the Helm project board and making sure of those things. The only thing I've also committed to is the Microsoft marketing team was interested in getting a Helm 3 high-level overview blog post on just like what's happening in Helm 3 coming up to KubeCon. So I told them that I can help out with that. So what I'll do is I'll post a HackMD and just get that information out there. So if anyone has anything that they want to put on there, happy to talk about it and happy to put that on there. It's just literally a high-level overview of what's going on in Helm 3. And I think, honestly, from what I've heard from Karen and a couple of others as well, it would be really good to have something on the Helm blog as well, not just on the Microsoft marketing blog. So there's that. Butcher.
Okay. So honestly, most of my week was spent on getting Brigade ZNCS stuff done. So I only spent a little bit of time responding on a couple of issues on the issue queue. And I will be on vacation for the next week, so I won't be around next week. I think that's it for me. Brian, did you go already? Is there anybody who needs to go? That's what I should have asked.
No, I think that's everyone from the core maintainers list.
Where is everybody this week?
Adam said that he was going to be a couple of minutes late, so we might join in later on in the discussion if there's anything.
All right. Well, I guess move on to discussion. We can always come back if people pop in. So there's only actually one thing on the discussion this week, so very light week. This is carried over from last week. I put it on here. I had a talk with Adam and Brian and Matt Fisher about Lua and what's going on. And I just wanted to kind of touch base with everyone about the expectation for what Lua is going to do. So in my, the way that I was thinking about it was more similar to like what, I don't know if you're familiar with Pulumi's doing, where you can essentially build the entire deployment in script. But after talking to Adam, it sounds like for Alpha, the plan is just to support the events around installation. Oh, here's Adam. Events around installation and stuff like that. So I just wanted to kind of like clear up what the story is for that. If anyone has any comments.
Yeah, so I guess I'd say that for Alpha, as far as Lua is concerned, each script is basically just a function written in Lua. But in but yeah, there's a.
I don't know what Brian's talking about that he runs ZSH.
Sorry, I got distracted by people talking. Yeah, so in the Lua scripts, they're basically just going to be performing like simple transformations over inputs into the script itself, whether they're global variables like a chart or a release defined in the global environment of the script, or if they're individual functions. But Helm won't have support for like a DSL immediately.
Like you would basically need a base chart, right? Like with templates, and then you could modify it afterwards. Is that what you're saying? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. But is that on the like timeline? I mean, is that something that we're planning to do, to completely use Lua for a chart, or was that never really part of the? I just would like to do it. I mean, I want to remove YAML from my life, and that's what I was going off of Butcher's the Sweet Code post, so that's what it kind of looked like to me, is that you could kind of build pods in Lua.
That's a great goal to have. I think that it's kind of outside of the realm of Helm though, with how it stands.
Why is that? I'm actually surprised. I would think that being able to define pods in Lua would be a great idea.
Maybe I missed what the discussion was because I joined at the very end.
No, this is exactly what we were talking about last week. Just that, like, I had that demo where you could basically just have a .lua file.
I was trying to launch.
I
was trying to launch HTTP program.
don't know who's talking. No, that's kind of like how I pictured it. Here, let me grab Matt's blog post just so I can have a reference.
Yeah, I mean, this is all about can you just create a whole chart with a values file and Lua and be done with it, and not have any YAML? I mean, that's the ultimate idea here, right? And then how much of it gets baked into Helm v3 versus not in Helm v3, right? Do you need to have a Lua library that knows how to do pods, or is that baked in as part of what Helm does us? Where is that line drawn? Stuff like that, right?
I'm kind of.
I mean, to answer the immediate question, it'll be possible, and I agree it's ideal, but for alpha, we won't be doing that. And it's also kind of unclear whether or not like some framework like this should exist outside of Helm, and Helm has support for it.
So
like go ahead.
No, go ahead, Brian. Continue.
Oh no, I was just kind of rambling. So
no, I think that it should. So my opinion is that similar to the templates, you have the 3 globals, chart, values, and release. And it's my opinion that you should be able to execute .luas with those as globals and do whatever you want. In terms of like, based on what on Matt Butcher's posts, like the library charts, I think that those can be implemented by third parties. Like you can have like a suite of things that make a pod service and things like that. But I think Helm should allow you to just have access to the values and the release information at the time of install. But again, this is just what I thought was going on.
So you're asking that inside of Lua, you can get to the values of the values, so to speak, you can get to the values file material, and you can get the release information, and that's it. It's not that you want to know and have something that's pod aware and says, okay, create a pod and I'll pass in these properties and then it knows what it is. You can do all that in Lua yourself. You're just asking for the values and release information to be available inside of your function that's called a hook, right?
Well, in a hook, but also just not in a hook. Like I want to get rid of .yaml and have .lua. So anywhere where you would, like in terms of how you would get the actual YAML out of that is a question, but like, the fourth variable I thought you would have access to is like a resources global, and you can just like append to the resources array. And that's basically like your templates directory.
So again, you're not asking for specific resource information, just basically a way to get the information that Helm knows, like when a chart gets rendered, the release, and basically the variables that are inside of a template that can be rendered. And then you want a way to pass out the objects that created that can be then rendered to YAML, right?
I think we're on the same page.
That's what you're asking for. Okay.
And that's more or less what I had imagined the final state would be. Not that it's the final word, but that's what I had imagined.
So the first thing I think at this point is that we have no physical implementation at this point with a Helm or Lua integration. And I think Adam and Brian, you guys paired yesterday, and I was there as well, on that we were interested in getting some kind of interface into Helm and Lua. So do you think it would be fruitful for this discussion to at least table it for the moment and have some kind of integration in Helm 3 for that, and then come back to this discussion and see where we are architecturally? Like if this, like
yeah,
if the,
no, I think that's
resource
fine.
injection is possible or not.
Yeah, I think it's going to be much easier to have the discussion if we have something to look at and at least say like, yes, this is correct, or no, this is not. So that's why I'm really itching to have something end to end to be able to look at, because I think that we might find that we have to tweak our initial idea to make this thing correct. So that's why I'm really hoping to have some code and something in place by next time we get together.
Yeah, I think that would be the best. I think that would be the best idea for having this discussion to keep it moving forward, because I mean, we can talk about what we would eventually get to, but without actually knowing how we interface with the Lua script and how we bring that back into the rendering engine and everything else, it's going to be a lot harder to talk about things like the resource injection that you were talking about, Josh, like having a resources API inside of the Lua script. We simply just don't have any idea how that's supposed to integrate. So I would be concerned about committing to that idea just now until we have a better idea of the Lua and the how that kind of integrates with Helm.
Yeah, exactly. I think all of us have a different idea in our head, and until we actually see something together, then we can't really start converging on that. So I think for a next step, we just need something in place, like a straw man, to at least talk against.
Okay.
Or maybe like some examples written out of this is how it's going to work.
Yeah. So Josh, do you want to bring this conversation back up again once we have something available to help out with that kind of situation, and then maybe we can.
Oh no, definitely. I know that it's very like early stages, like you said. So I wanted to. I mean, I just want to talk about it to kind of shape where it might go.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
I think it's all possible. I think it's all possible. It's just a matter of.
Yeah, and there is a specification for all this stuff in the community repo, so people can read through that and PR against the specification to change things if. Or for whatever, because what we're shooting for now does not appear to be what's in the spec.
So I think the community thing actually has a little brigade script accidentally in there versus a real Lua example. So, but anyway, all right, we can pick this back up once there's more Lua stuff going on.
And next week we should have some code down. So let's discuss this again next week.
Okay. We still have 10 minutes, 11 minutes. Is there any other discussion? No?
I'm okay with continuing talking about what we were talking about if we have extra time.
Sure. Yeah.
What is your different broad cities?
Yeah. Another thing I wanted to say on that is like, when you're kind of like, or when we are presenting like, here's Helm 3, I think that's like, with the using templates or using Lua, don't you think we should have like a recommended way of doing things? And so that's where I'm kind of disconnected in that I was seeing it as a, hey, you can completely get rid of templates now. So that's...
Yeah, and I think the thought was that it would have the possibility, but there is so much resistance from the community for completely changing the way that we write charts and process charts that I don't think that's what we want to lead with. I think we're going to be doing a big, I think that would be a misstep for the community.
But if you hit the documentation and it's like, how do I write a chart and no one has ever used it? That's kind of where I'm
right. But then it is, you have to rewrite all your charts that you have today.
No, I'm saying you don't have any chart. Like if I'm coming to Helm.
Josh, here's the thing to think about. Who are the end users and what user experience do they need? Not how do we want to do things, right? So in Helm, we actually prioritize who our users are and how we want to meet their needs. We actually have a doc on this in the community repo. And so one of the things is always to ask, who are the users and what do they need? It's called user profiles. And first we've got the application operator, the application distributor, then the application developer, then the supporting tool developer, then the Helm developer, and that's all of us, right? Like that's our priorities. And so if we said the application operator and the application distributor, what are they comfortable with? What will enable them to excel in what they need to do? And quite frankly, it's like templates. We all know how to use templating. The web is templating. All these things are templating. People are really comfortable with that, right? And a lot of these folks are also very, very comfortable with YAML and they like it. And some of our surveys even called that out. Lots of people like to use YAML and like to use templates. They're comfortable and they're fast with it, right? And so we don't want to just say we're going to give an entirely different way out there and put that foot forward because they're not asking for it. It's not set to meet some need they have. Now, I'm not saying we don't do it. I'm just saying we have to be careful to say who are the users and then how do we meet their needs and to make sure we understand that and continue to iterate on it as that changes. But that's the kind of thing to look at. Like I love the idea of being able to write these things entirely in Lua, but I am also very understanding of who the bulk of our end users are and what they need to get done and then how do we help them be successful with the least amount of work. And that's kind of one of our goals, right? And so that's just the thing to keep in mind.
Yeah, and like at KubeCon, the number of people that came up to me and were upset about the Lua stuff and were under the impression that they were going to have to rewrite their charts and model them in Lua were far greater than the number of people coming up and saying, hey, thanks for switching to this Lua thing. I'm excited that we're going to have some new technology. Like, people want to be able to write their charts the same as they are today. And I think we need to respect that.
Let me also put it this way. We still have to go around and sell Lua to people. I've got people on the CNCF TOC who've come to me concerned about us choosing Lua. Like, there is massive concern about this. We still actually have to go out to the world and sell, even including and using Lua to people out there. Now, I'm not questioning the decision. I'm just saying it's being called that much into question that we have to go give that pitch. And so,
yeah, well, I think we can
smart in how we do it.
We can pitch them by showing them awesome stuff. Like, if you show them this little.
They don't care about awesome stuff. They care about useful stuff. Useful is different from awesome, right? I'll argue useful is usability plus utility. And you got to have that usability and utility. There's lots of awesome stuff that people do in showcases that's not practical to teach a lot of your people, or it's really hard, or it's convoluted, but you can do really neat things. And that's the thing I'm going to argue. Like, a lot of people, there are people who are coming to me thinking that Lua is going to like break Helm, and they have cases for where embedding scripting in other systems like this before has caused problems for those communities, even when the people were all hyped about it. So, like, the way we approach this has to be really thought out in the way we convey it. And I understand the hype, and I appreciate it. I understand the desire for awesome, but I'm also like the practical aspects of what do the end users need, and how do we show them how to be successful in their cases of doing things without moving their, without killing them and making them have this massive cognitive load. Like, just to be smart about it.
I don't want to kill anybody. What I'm saying is, if I'm a new user to Helm, I'm coming end of 2019. I've never used the thing. I would like to get away with no templates. That's all I'm saying.
You would like to get away with no templates, but
no,
do the desired users, the application distributors, want to go learn maybe a new programming language, right? Because Lua, for most of them, is going to be a new programming language.
This is going to get speculative. There's really no way to know what a new user is going to do. But the original intent of the proposal was to make it so that people could write them in Lua, or they could write them in YAML with templates.
Yeah.
And we've drifted away from the original proposal, but the proposal has not been modified. So we got to modify the proposal in some way at any point, because we're not building what's in there, and we have at least 5 different versions of what we should be building. So we kind of do want to pull it.
It still is, like, the spec is open enough that you can, like, if you want to, you could create all your objects in Lua and dump them in. But it's just not the path that we're necessarily pushing initially. We're given the framework that you can do whatever you want,
And you know what? I think that's reasonable. We do the same thing, and we have a large organization, and we actually went the opposite direction. We gave people the flexibility of Groovy and all this other stuff, and a lot of times they just want to get their work done, and YAML was a much easier way for them to reason about. Yet the other one's still there, but we don't necessarily push that on the people, because it's sometimes you can have too much rope and hang yourself. So I agree with all the points that are made. Just need to proceed slowly and thoughtfully about it, not necessarily remove it or make it not available, but know the target audience today is comfortable with YAML and even templatized YAMLs, and then go from there.
Yep, I agree.
All right, well, we are for sure unblocked for getting things moving for the next week, and then we can revisit some of this, but right? Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Cool. That was a good discussion.
Okay, since we all put on a show for ER for his rare appearance on the meeting. Is there anything else we need to cover?
I don't think so. There's nothing on the agenda. Was there any announcements? We kind of started early.
The one last thing actually. So there was a mention of a 213.1 release that still hasn't necessarily been done. Is there anyone who has some availability to take a look at releasing a 213.1? I could, but I'm also getting quite busy with some of the Helm 3 stuff, so I necessarily haven't had the time to like dedicate towards that. But if nobody else has the time, then I can take a look into it again. It's just that some of my work will be delayed on the Helm 3 stuff side.
Yeah, I can look into it.
I think with what you and Brian are working on is probably a lot more fruitful. So if it's a lot more valuable in time for me to do it, then I can do that. I just rather not do it because I'm also helping out on Helm 3 and I've been doing a lot of the other stuff. But I would rather not take any of the other Helm 3 developers or anyone who's working on that to blog that up. So I'm happy to take on the time. So Adam, if you feel compelled, be happy to. But I can take I can bite the bullet. I'll take that nodding as I'll bite the bullet.
Did I mention I'm on vacation and can't do anything?
Okay, I'll take that on. So I'll put that on as I'll go through and do the 213.1 release.
Awesome. All right, looks like we're ending on time, unless there's anything else. Assignments, who can do issue Sherpa? Okay, we'll move on to moderate. Who can do moderator?
I can do moderator.
And notes?
I can do notes.
I can take on issue Sherpa stuff. Sorry, I was writing on the notes.
Awesome, thank you. All right, that concludes this. We will see you all online next week.
All right. Bye.
Bye.